I'm of the opinion that Trump doesn't actually politically mind his tax information being investigated, especially since we probably won't get it until after the election anyway. We probably won't get it for another 5 or 10 years. It'll be an interesting footnote when we do. But in real time, he is angry about all this. He tweeted, the Supreme Court sends cases back to lower court, arguments to continue. This is all a political prosecution, which he is always against, going after political opponents. He'd never do that. I won the Mueller witch hunt and others, and now I have to keep fighting in a politically corrupt New York. Not fair to this presidency or administration. He goes on to say, courts in the past have given broad deference, but not me. So, I don't know. I guess as little as I kind of care about this, and as little as I think it will end up mattering for the presidential election, if it is causing him a little bit of pain in the short term, I can take some schadenfreude out of that, considering the state of the country, I guess.
I don't know. I hate this man. Right? I just there's and the reason I say it like that is because what else is there to say about this clown? What else is there to say about a man who is presiding over the deaths of 132,000 Americans and creating the conditions for even more to die, and yet he feels like he's the victim, right? I think I spend so much time on my show trying to analyze things and trying to break it down to like what are the real motivations and behind their political machinations and stuff. But at the end of the day, man, F these people, bro. Like as soon as whenever he eventually and inevitably dies, I can't wait to take my turn to piss on his grave because they are literally the bane of our existence, and they're going to get a lot of people killed. And I think it's just time up for even giving it. I have no civility left to give these clowns. I have nothing. Yeah, no,
I think at this point, considering all the damage that has been done since 2016, and I know it's hard to think back to the dark times before 2016, but things sucked then.
Exactly.
Like with all of that, we're supposed to care about like being like polite to Trump? No.
Man, no. They just better be grateful that most of us still care about the laws, right? We still are trying to preserve institutions. We're still trying to keep some sense of civilization, and we're trying to work through the system to resolve these issues. But if you ask me what kind of respect I have for the president or the office of the presidency and Donald Trump, man, well, anyway, I don't know what the rating of the show is. I'll just leave it at that.
We normally abide by TV language requirements, but we can edit in post if necessary, Ben.
Okay, it's not that important.
If necessary.
I'll preserve all the profanity for my show.
Okay. Everyone go watch his show to hear him go off verbally.
You saw how I slipped that plug in.
Exactly. By the way, I wanted to also mention that if this is something that really gets you fired up, and I understand why. If you care about law and order and you believe that Trump has committed financial crimes, whether domestically, corruption, stuff like that, or internationally, all of that, I get it. Trump isn't the only person that hypothetically you could be mad at. You could be also mad at some of the Dems who in 2018 ran on, we're going to get the taxes. And then as soon as they were in office, we're like, maybe we'll get around to it at some point. And if they had been faster in that process, today's decision would have been the decision of 3 to 6 months ago, and maybe we would get the taxes before the election. Now, don't listen to me. Listen to Alex Morris, great candidate whose primary election is coming up soon, said a real Democrat would have subpoenaed Trump's taxes on day one instead of delaying because he was more focused on cozying up to his Republican colleagues for votes on a bill to help his corporate donors. That is Richard Neal, who Alex Morris is running against in Massachusetts' 1st District. And yeah, Richard Neal had been sort of implying like, you know what, we're going to go in there, we're going to get him, we're going to hold him accountable. And then he took a big, long nap as soon as they were in office. So I'm glad that Alex Morris is reminding people of that at this point.
Yeah, I like the way you frame that, right? As important as it is for us to get Donald Trump out of power, and quite frankly, any Republican across the let me frame it like this. The Democratic Party should be what the Republican Party is, right? The Democratic Party should be the furthest right that we are in this country. But we got to get the sociopaths out of power. As important as that is, there is so much culpability that the responsibility has to be laid at the feet of the Democratic Party, because one of the most frustrating things right now, John, is the fact that we don't have an effective opposition party to actually fight on our behalf against these sociopaths who are in power right now. And I'm sorry, when you have the House of Representatives, you're the Speaker of the House, if you're the Senate Minority Leader, you have a significant amount of political power. And I feel that not only those two particular leaders, but also the rank and file, there's just a dearth. There's an absence of leadership fighting on our behalf in some of our darkest hours. So there's plenty to be laid at the Democratic Party.
Exactly. It was a moment where we needed leadership, and thankfully we did have it, but not from the actual leaders. It was, the squad and, people affiliated with the squad that stepped up over the past few years. I also wanted to mention the Supreme Court today ruled by a 5-4 margin that nearly half of Oklahoma is an Indian reservation in the eyes of the criminal justice system, preventing state authorities from prosecuting offenses there that involve Native Americans. That is a huge decision. It's not one that I'm expert on, so we are reaching out to experts to come on and help us dissect this, but I did want to let you know that that is also super significant. We should acknowledge it, especially considering that much of the coverage, as you just saw, is going to be focused on these two cases. This is also significant as well.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.